to talk. Welcome, everyone. And I'll be live this morning at regular time on the radio and everything. I want to talk about a few things going on, and main focus today on the morning show. I will be talking about the Trump Christmas Day attacks on ISIS, and I'm going to talk about that in detail. I'm going to talk about here, Adam the Woo, and then we got some big, I guess, updates on how Adam the Woo was found, and everything else that went down. I want to talk about all that and a few other things on this stream. So welcome, everyone. First, I want to talk about, I want to talk about the Trump airstrikes and some more details on Adam the Woo being discovered, and the legacy of Adam the Woo. And, I've been talking about Adam all week. It's just really, just really affected me. We've lost this year, we lost Adam the Woo and Charlie Kirk. And those are both two guys too young to go. And, a lot of times, there's been some celebrities that have died recently, and you feel sad, but if they're 80 or above or close to 80, as sad as you are, you're like, okay, but Charlie Kirk and Adam the Woo, too young to go, and both of them have left an incredible legacy of people they've touched in different ways and such, but both just had such a deep impact on me. After their passing, a deep impact as well. I want to talk first though about Trump and these ISIS strikes, and I'm going to talk about that in more detail on the morning show today, and take your calls when I'm in the studio. These ISIS strikes against ISIS for kidnapping and killing Christians. For as long as I can remember, we hear terrible stories about Christians being around the world, being slaughtered, persecuted, kidnapped, forced into conversion. I mean, it's like in the days of the Roman Empire, before, the Roman Empire became Christian, where they were throwing Christians in the lion's den. And, there's a deleted scene in the original Gladiator where they were putting Christians in with the lions in the Gladiator arena. They cut it out. It was when I got that on DVD, when it first came out on DVD, that's how long ago it was. That was in the deleted scenes on the DVD of Gladiator. But that's what's really been going on. Christians have been slaughtered, imprisoned, raped, forced into conversions, and no one until Trump, with this airstrike yesterday on Christmas Day, has done a damn thing about it. And when we've even had presidents like George W. Bush, who wore his Christianity on his sleeve, but Christians get slaughtered, nothing. It's almost like, oh well, yeah. You understand what I mean? And it's insane. So President Trump standing up against the attack and persecution and murder and slaughter and kidnapping and God knows what else of Christians. I'm proud of President Trump for this. President Trump's an anti-war guy. He always has been, since the days of the Vietnam War. And President Trump, a few weeks ago on Air Force One, when he was doing one of those press gaggles on Air Force One, when he stands in the doorway between where, the presidential area and the press area, and he was talking about how he wasn't sure he was going to go to heaven. And I talked about this, that when I covered that on the program here, I talked about that, and I said what President Trump is talking about is that as president, he's ordered airstrikes where people have been killed, and he's worried that he won't make it into heaven because he's killed people through military actions that he's ordered. And I know it's he is such a true Christian man, President Trump. But this has to be done. You know, this idea that it's okay to persecute, murder, rape, pillage Christians, that's been going on for the decades that I've been on this earth. Now is the time that President Trump says, no more, we're not going to put up with this. And he's standing up and doing the right thing. And he deserves our support, praise, and making sure that we spread the news of what good work he's doing. I mean, when have you seen another president stand up against the murder and persecution of Christians in these Islamic countries around the world? I mean, a specific action like this in response to the persecution of Christians around the world. I can't think of any that come to mind. Can you? But what American president has done that before Trump? I can't think of one. Now I want to talk a little bit about Adam the Woo. So we got some new information, and Adam the Woo was such an inspiring figure to so many. And he, you know, I noticed, you know, the people that are visiting his house and showing videos in front of his house, which is becoming a memorial, a shrine to Adam right now. You know, Adam, I saw this when he, in the video where he took the Scrooge to his house on Saturday, and he showed his Christmas decorations in his front lawn. You noticed he had a nativity scene. You know, Adam the Woo was a Christian. His father's a retired minister. And that was so awesome to see that. But he just inspired so many people. You know, there's so many people you see making videos that they're posting on YouTube that talk about what Adam meant to them, and you know, what thing about Adam the Woo, you know, he doesn't, he's getting a lot of credit. I don't think Adam had any idea how famous he was or how much he meant to people. And I mean, he knew he was famous, but I don't think he knew he was famous at this level. But he's never really gotten the credit he deserves for the impact he's made on YouTube and our culture, Adam the Woo. And, you know, YouTube has replaced traditional television for how many people? I mean, how many of you watch YouTube instead of regular television, even if you're watching YouTube on TV? And I think that's a lot of what Adam the Woo did. He, you know, his videos. I first found Adam the Woo through Justin Scarred. I found Justin Scarred, and one of the first videos I watched of Justin Scarred, this was, I don't know how many years ago. I know it was over 10 years ago, because I remember when Adam got the ban. I remember when he got the ban lifted from Disney World. He had a lifetime ban from Disney World and Universal Studios Orlando. And I remember when he went back to Disney, when the ban was lifted. I don't know how long I've been watching Adam, but it's been over a decade. And I found him through Justin Scarred, who seems to be one of his closest and bestest friends. And, you know, I really admired him, Adam the Woo, and his story was amazing. But his impact on the culture is his videos from when he first started, when he left, when he quit the feed store, he wasn't even monetized on YouTube. He had no money, got in the van, and I watched his first video a couple days ago. You know, he has two channels. The Daily Woo is where he's been posting mostly for the last few years. The Adam the Woo channel is where he started, and he only posted up there about once a year for a long time. But I watched the first video he made when he hit the road on the van, and he was talking about his plans. And then you look at his house, which was beautiful, this beautiful home he lived in. And it's all about risk-taking. I watched another video of his yesterday. I've been watching old Adam the Woo videos all week. And I watched one of his videos where he went to, he was in the St. Cloud where he was working and living before he hit the road. And he went to this shopping center where there used to be a Winn-Dixie that he worked at. That was now a Staples. It was a Staples and an Aldi. They split it in half. And he was talking about how he was financially struggling working in retail for like 20 years. And he said that when he always struggled until he took the leap and went out on his own and became self-employed by becoming a full-time YouTuber. And I know there's a lot of people in different genres on YouTube that have made impacts, but Adam's never, and I hope he will now, and maybe people are starting to see it now, his impact on making YouTube what it is today is so much bigger than people realize. And people talk about Mr. Beast or Casey Neistat, and those are both amazing guys with amazing stories too. Okay, I don't want to take anything away from Casey Neistat or Mr. Beast, because you know their stories are absolutely amazing. I remember when Mr. Beast was just a couple of his buddies around town driving around on go-karts, and Casey Neistat's amazing. But Adam the Woo is up there with those two guys, and everyone credits Casey Neistat as the definitive vlogger and all that stuff. And I don't want to take anything away from Casey Neistat. However, Adam the Woo is equal to Casey Neistat by far. And I know, what I mean is, so far as his impact on YouTube and the YouTube community, and I know there were so many people that have been inspired by Casey Neistat to become YouTubers, but Adam the Woo, his contribution, without question, is equal to that of Casey Neistat to YouTube and the YouTube community. And he really, I just don't think he ever got the recognition for that he deserved. I think people are realizing it now. And the thing with Adam the Woo, he did things a little bit different, I mean, Casey Neistat didn't have any money. I mean, he went to New York with nothing with his brother Van, and he's a millionaire many times over, and he's had an impact. But he was a filmmaker. He went to college to be a filmmaker. He had that HBO show with his brother that didn't get renewed, and then, as opposed to becoming a filmmaker in the traditional sense, he decided to daily vlog on YouTube, and it's an amazing Rocky story, Casey Neistat. But Adam the Woo is too, and equally to that, without question. Gen X, you haven't heard of Adam the Woo? Yeah, I mean, Adam the Woo's had a big impact on my life. I mean, we're about the same age. Both grew up in Florida, and both started out the same way. And I've always felt a connection with him because while I didn't hit the road, I was much like him and said enough of this life and created a new one. And I've been working as a full-time broadcaster for over 30 years. And and have a great life and family because of it, and I could have become like Adam. I could have stayed in retail and had a very successful retail career and been a manager at a retail store somewhere. But I took the lead. It's a funny thing, because sometimes people will ask me, even still today. I heard someone, who was it? It was Justin Scard. I think it was Justin Scard said, when his video about Adam this week in the Back to the Future parking lot mall, and he said even up until his death, people in his circle, I guess, like like family, where it's like, why don't you just get a real life, a traditional life, and quit this thing, and traditional job and everything else. And he was always fine. And even still today, I'll have people in my family, with all the success I've had, say that, I had somebody say to me, don't you wish you would have stayed at Publix and just had a steady paycheck, your whole life? And, and I'm like, no. I mean, the things I've done, the life I have, I never would have met my wife or have my daughter, and, and beautiful home and life, and wouldn't have had it. Sometimes you got to take a risk and take a leap of faith and go out on your own. And I did that when I was 18, 19 in broadcasting in 1990, 91. And Adam the Woo did the same thing. And when I first found him, he was still in the van and everything when I was watching him, there was so many things about Adam that I related to and connected to because of his story about how he got where he was. And, I know some people, I saw a video yesterday where someone said, oh, I like the old Adam, not what he became. We all change, and some of you may have, some of you that watch me and here on YouTube today may remember me when I first started out on the radio in 91-ish, 92, 91, when I was first on the air on the radio. What I was doing then is much different than I am doing today. You grow and you develop and you change and you go through life, and you grow up, and you get better at what it is that you're doing. But I really, I see, in many ways, what Adam the Woo did on YouTube is greater than anything that Casey Neistat or Mr. Beast have done, because what he did, before I found him and got into YouTube, I always watched like Samantha Brown on Travel Channel and stuff, and I have not traveled that much. And the reason I haven't traveled that much is because I work so much. And my wife is disabled and can't travel, and which is fine. I mean, it's not fine that she's disabled. I mean, I'm not really interested in traveling the world. I mean, I take my yearly cruise with you guys, that are listeners and watchers of mine, but I'm not really interested in. I have no interest in going to Europe or Australia. But I like to watch. I used to watch Travel Channel shows about it, but I would watch Adam. And what Adam did, that I believe he was the first to do it at that level, is when he went to the back road, when he first started and he was going to the back roads and abandoned places, living in the van, he documented America in a way that I don't think anybody had ever seen before. And if you go back to his first videos and watch them all the way through till today, he was doing the same thing today in a different way. I'll give you an example. He went to all those back roads and abandoned places, doing a lot of trespassing in the early days. But at Halloween, as an example, and I did love his European videos, or his travel videos. In particular, his when he went to South Korea, because he was in South Korea for quite some time, and that was amazing. But his first out of the country venture, when he went to South America, I can't remember where he went, Adam, and he stayed in this hotel out in the middle of nowhere, and he was going to stay there for a couple days, and he left after one night. Something scared the crap out of him. He didn't say, I didn't hear him say what it was, but I was watching one of the channels that's critical of Adam the Woo, Passing Through Productions, and they're like a channel that does criticisms of Adam the Woo. Been doing it for a long time, and they've had 2 videos since Adam's passing, and I watched their most recent one that I saw yesterday, and they were talking about people giving praise to Adam, and they're saying most of they said, and I didn't agree with this, and I thought it was in a little bad taste since the man just passed away. But what Passing Through Productions had said was most of the praise to Adam is the Adam that we used to have, that we don't have anymore. And, you know, he's not the same person, and we all loved him. No, he was still doing the same things that he was doing back then in a different way. You know, when you get older, you stop trespassing. You can't get yourself arrested and go to jail. You think about consequences. You know, when I was first broadcasting in the early 90s, I did all kinds of crazy things that I wouldn't do now because I got a responsibility. I got a house, got a wife, got an adult dog, and all that stuff. But he was still doing the same thing that he did when he lived in the van in a different way. And a great example was on Halloween, the Poltergeist house. Did any of you see the Poltergeist house? Oh, yeah, Charlie Kirk, too. Both these guys have major impacts. The house in California where the original Poltergeist was filmed has been restored to as close to its original state as possible, and is now an Airbnb, and it's a very expensive Airbnb. Adam rented the house out on Halloween with Justin Scard and a couple of other YouTubers, and he did this video in the Poltergeist house. That was amazing. That was an amazing video. I would never rent that. It's expensive. It's like $3,000 a night to rent the Poltergeist house, and I would never do that. It would be cool. I might try buy it, you know, but I would never pay that money to stay in the house. But he did it, and he documented it, and it was super freaking cool, right? He was even in the kitchen with the chicken, you know, leg and everything else. It was amazing. You know, so he was still doing the same thing that he did when he started out, just in a different way. And so people who say that he changed, well, yeah, when you're in the public, and you know you are, you know, like I've been or he's been, your whole adult life, of course, who is the same way they were 20 years ago, 15 years ago? Hopefully you're not the same way. Hopefully you grow, you develop, you change. And I'm so sad that we're not going to see what Adam would be doing at 71, right? Because I was always curious about that. What was he going to do? You know, and I was looking, the Exorcist house. He did one where he stayed a couple years back in the house from A Christmas Story, you know, and I remember when he stayed in the Christmas Story house. But no one has documented the United States the way Adam the Woo has. All these places that I will never be able to go to, never be able to visit, or just will never do, he did, and he documented the country in a way no one has done. He created an entire genre on YouTube, and you know, and some of you may that know Adam the Woo know about this, but a lot of, I think most of Adam the Woo's fan base are probably not aware of this. See, one difference between Adam and Casey Neistat and this is something I so respect from him, and this is how I run my business, is being independent. I can do whatever the freak I want to do. I answer to no one except you guys that are my listeners and watchers and followers. And years ago, Tom Green, that Tom Green, offered a deal to Adam the Woo that he turned down. And he wasn't in the financial position he was at the end of his life, where he bought this beautiful home in Celebration. What an incredible cashing in opportunity that it could have been. And if I was his friend, I would have told him to take it. And maybe his friends did, and he turned down an opportunity. Tom Green was a big deal back then. He's still a big deal. I like Tom Green, but he turned that Tom Green offer down, Adam the Woo. And, Casey Neistat is more mainstream, right? He had that HBO show. He's he sold a company that he started to, wasn't it CNN, for many millions of dollars. And he just had, not to take anything away from Casey Neistat, because I'm a big fan of Casey Neistat's and have a lot of respect for Casey Neistat. It's not a criticism, but Casey Neistat has been getting a recognition because of his New York and Hollywood connections that he has. And Adam the Woo rejected all of that. He didn't do, as some people may say, sell. I don't consider it selling out, because I'm certainly a capitalist. But that's why Adam in his life didn't get the recognition that Casey Neistat has gotten and Mr. Beast, because and there's probably other opportunities that have come along that he's turned down that we don't know about, and there's this other thing with Netflix, used some of Adam's footage from his YouTube channel without permission or credit in this Area 51 documentary, but if I don't expect people that aren't fans of Adam the Woo to go through 15 years of videos. But and I know a lot of you that watch me regularly don't know who he was, and he's somebody that just really had an impact on my life, and even though I didn't watch his videos every single day, anymore, I did watch them weekly. I'd watch a couple a week, but he's just missed. There's a good documentary on him that was done a few years back, and it's just search on YouTube, who was Adam the Woo, and the thumbnail is Adam the Woo. I think he's wearing a red blazer, sitting on a chair on a road in the middle of nowhere in the woods in the thumbnail. And it's a good documentary. If you don't know who he is, watch the documentary. You'll hear it's short. It's like 15, 20 minutes, and you'll learn all about him. But he was just an amazing person. Now I want to talk about this update. Okay, the German in Venice here on YouTube finally dropped a video yesterday. I watched it and talked about how he discovered. How the discovery of Adam the Woo happened, and I just found that I'm not questioning the story. It just seemed strange to me what the German in Venice said, and this is what the German in Venice is the guy who called the police to do a wellness check on Adam, and he finally released a video yesterday. I watched it early this morning. And he had met Adam before and knew Adam, I don't know how close of friends they were, but they were more of acquaintances. And he was in Florida, and he's been doing vlogs in Florida. German in Venice. He's a German guy who lives in Venice, California, and he's done videos with Adam in the past. But he's been doing some stuff in Miami, and in fact, I've lived down here almost my whole life, and I saw a couple things on the German in Venice's vlogs that I didn't even know were in Miami that I'm going to check out myself. And I've lived down here forever. he had talked about how the day before he had called Adam. You know, he's an older guy. German and Venice is probably my age, maybe a little older. So he's not in the texting, he's into calling people. And he talked about how he called Adam a couple times. He didn't answer, then he would text him back. And he texted him the night before and said, we're going to do some park hopping. I'm going to put you in, I'll drive you around Celebration in his golf cart. And he said, come on over around 8:45. And this just sounds very strange with the trip. I'm not questioning his story, but it just is a little strange to me because Adam had no health problems that I've heard anybody talk about. The death is just totally unexpected. So he got to his house, he knocked on the door, and Adam didn't answer. And he knocked again, he didn't answer, knocking, he didn't answer. So he went to his car, and he said he waited in his car for about an hour out in front. He said, Adam said, be there at 8:45, park behind my car in front of the house, and, come here. So he did that. So he knocked a few times, no answer. He went back to his car, he said, for about an hour, went back, knocked again, nothing. So he thought, well, maybe Adam went to the coffee shop because he always went to the coffee shop to get his piping hot cup of Starbucks every morning. And he went to Starbucks and thought, well, maybe he's at Starbucks. And he wasn't at Starbucks. So he came back and knocked on the door again. And there was no answer. And then the German in Venice called his friend who doesn't know Adam. He's a friend of his that was visiting Florida. And he called his friend and he says, Adam didn't answer the door. I don't know what's going on. And he says, well, why don't you call the police? Let's do a wellness check. And he said, okay. And he called the police. Now, first, that's what I find strange. You know, if I was going to meet up with a friend of mine, especially a single guy, you know, because Adam didn't have a wife or kids. So if I had a friend of mine, we were going to get together this morning and said to be at my house at 8:45, and I went over there and I knocked on the door and they didn't answer, I would assume they were passed out sleeping. Plus Adam had a 3-story house, so he's up on the 3rd floor. I would think he was just sleeping, and I'd call him, and if they didn't answer, I'd go to the door again and knock, and then if they didn't answer, I would just text them, hey, I came by, you didn't answer. Maybe you're up late. Maybe you're sleeping. Maybe you met a nice girl and you hooked up and you're having a good time or passed out. I don't know. But give me a call or text when you're up and we'll get together. That's what I would have done to somebody that's a healthy person, right? That doesn't have a history of health problems or is not elderly. But he called the police to do a wellness check. Is that... That's obviously it's a good thing he did it, but isn't that a strange thing? I just don't think I would have done that. So the police came. This is what the German in Venice said. So the police came, and while he was waiting for the police, which took about 45 minutes to get there. So by this point, German in Venice has been at Adam's house for 2 or 3 hours, he didn't know Adam that well. I mean, he could tell by how he was talking about how he wasn't returning his calls and stuff. And a lady from the HOA comes over while he's waiting for the cops, and the cops come, and this HOA lady is there, and she says that she has keys to the house. The cops knocked. There was no answer. They said they couldn't go in. They called their superior. He said, no, there's no probable cause to go in. And this lady from the HOA said she had keys to the house. And I'm wondering if that's one of those HOAs that requires you to give a set of keys to your house. And she says, I have the keys. We can go in. And the cop said, no. No. Not allowed. There's no probable cause. And German in Venice said the police told, and the HOA lady knew Adam because she knew that German in Venice was coming over. Adam had said, my friend Mike is his name, is coming over. She had called another friend of Adam's who had gotten there when the police were there. And they wanted to use the keys to go into the house And the police said, if you do that, you're going to get arrested. You can't do that. So they said, okay. And the lady left and the cops left. And German in Venice is there with a friend who he didn't say who it was. So I don't know if it's a YouTuber, the other friend. I was wondering if it was Kevin, I forgot his name, Kevin Himlock. There's a good friend of his, Adam's, that's a YouTuber. I'm not sure. But he didn't say who the friend was. And he said there was a crew doing some pressure washing of a house on the street. So they borrowed the ladder. And they had looked up and saw, his friend said, that's Adam's bedroom up there, and the window was open. Not the blinds, the window's open. And he said Adam would never leave the window open. And so anyway, they borrowed a ladder from this pressure washing crew. And I knew German in Venice didn't climb the ladder. I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, there's just no way. But the other guy, who might have been Kevin, I can't remember Kevin's last name. It starts with an H, if anybody knows him. He's a YouTuber. And he climbed the ladder and saw Adam and called him, and he was non-responsive. And German in Venice said he could tell that something was wrong. And then they call, and before they climbed up on the ladder, by the way, the HOA lady with the keys came back, put the key in the lock, and it didn't work. Adam had changed the lock. So the HOA lady did not have a working key to Adam's house. He had changed the locks, which is probably against HOA rules. They probably, you probably have to give them a key to your house, which is insane. But HOAs in Florida are terrible. I mean, they're just crazy. But anyway, so they got the ladder. He looked up there. He climbed up the ladder, the other guy who had not been identified yet. And he said he could tell that it wasn't good. So they called the police, and then the coroner came, and they roped it off with police tape and everything else and went in. And that's what happened. But it's sad. But it is, I mean, tell me, yes or no, do you think it's strange that the German in Venice, when he got there and Adam didn't answer the door in the morning, that he called the police for a wellness check? Would you do that? I just think it's weird. There's just no way. If I went to my mother's house today, you would? Just a regular guy that had no health. Yes, you think it's weird. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to my wife, and I was saying, my mother is retired. She's 74. If I went to my mother's house this morning at 8:45, and now, of course, I have a key to my mother's house, but, just say tonight, and I knocked on my mom's door, and her car was there, and she didn't answer. And I didn't have a key. I'd call her, and if she didn't answer, I wouldn't call the police. Not right away. I would think, oh, well, maybe she went to this, out with some friends or something, right? If it was my mother, who's 74, I don't know. I don't think I'd call the police that quick. No, Michael says he wouldn't. It is a little bit odd. Yes, it's weird. Yeah, it is. It is. It is very strange. It's very strange. Yeah. 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 But I'm still debating. I was going to drive up, if I can, on Saturday. It's a bit of a drive because I'm in South Florida. It's about a 3-hour drive. But I was going to drive to Adam's house on Saturday just to pay my respects. But I'm thinking about waiting for the memorial. You can't discount that heebie-jeebie feeling God gives you from time to time. That is most definitely true, Cindy. But if you listen, if you watch, when you're done watching me, go watch the German in Venice. Just look up German in Venice and watch him tell the story. And he talks about how the day before, like, he had been calling Adam, and Adam never answered the phone, and then he would text him back a long time later. So they weren't that tight. They were acquaintances. And I would say German in Venice is more of a fan than a friend. They were acquaintances. And no, I would not call the police that soon. No. I wouldn't call the police that soon to do a wellness check on my own mother. you know? Mm-mm. My mother's 74 and a widow. I would say, oh, she's out with her friends, out shopping, went out to the beach, something, and she's got her phone off, something, right? And I would just text her, Mom, call me. That's it. I'd come back home. Now, if it was the next day and it's my mother, I would. But not an acquaintance. I don't know if I would do that with an acquaintance like that. And sickly with health problems, and they were alone, maybe, but not even that quick. Mm-mm. No. Because German had even said that he was at something with friends, you know? I would just assume they were sleeping in, hooked up with a girl, or something. That's what I would think. But, you know, or left, just went with some friends somewhere. That's what I would think. But anyway, you know, I'm not questioning his story or anything. It seemed just a little strange. That's all. You know, I'm curious why he called the police so soon. What inspired him to do? He said he called his friend that didn't know Adam, and his friend told him to call the police for the wellness check. No, that's just too quick to do a wellness check. In my mind, although he was dead in the house, so I mean, it was, you know, he was right, but I don't know. We'll see. But his legacy is certainly there. We don't know. I may still go up Saturday, because I don't know when the memorial service is going to be, and I may not be able to make it to the memorial service. I'm going to do everything I can when they announce the memorial service to go. If I might have to take off a day from work to go, but I'm going to make every effort to go to the Adam the Woo Memorial. I don't know. It's going to be his dad said it's going to be a celebration of life, and his father, Adam the Woo's dad, posted a beautiful message on Facebook. I retweeted it yesterday. And I'm so happy that Adam the Woo's dad is embracing the fame and understands that people want to meet and be able to grieve together for Adam, and they're doing this celebration of life event. And I believe that the Adam the Woo memorial could very well be the largest funeral / memorial service in the history of the state of Florida. Depending on how much time they give, like when they announce it, if it's going to be tomorrow or is it going to be like a week notice, you know what I mean? Oh, tomorrow, or is it going to be a week? The longer they give, like if they give a week's notice, people are going to travel from all over America. There could be 10, 20,000 people. It could be like a Trump rally crowd of people that show up. There could be 20,000 people easily, depending on how much notice they give. You know, like I said, if they give a week notice, people will travel from everywhere to go. And not that my opinion matters, you know, in this, but if I, you know, I know where I would have his memorial service, where, you know, there's a place that he travels to from time to time. It's where he did his vlog for his Adam the Woo channel. It's in a field in the St. Cloud area, and he would go there from time to time. And there's some ruins of a sugar mill, and he would always go to all these ruins of this sugar mill and say, "This is where it all began. This is where I did my first vlog." And it's a big field. It's a big empty field, except for these small amount of ruins that are left. And I just think that would be a perfect place to do the memorial. And the reason I think it would be a perfect place to do the memorial is because there's space. I mean, I don't know what kind of expectations they have. They very well could fill up an arena in the Orlando area for people that want to come and attend an Adam the Woo memorial. And that field's pretty big, where the old sugar mill was. That could accommodate a lot of people. and put a stage up there with microphones and some speakers, and that would be that'd be a good place to do it, because there'd be room for the people. If they do it inside a facility, most everyone's not going to get in unless they have an arena. And but maybe somebody up there will offer a big facility like that. But maybe I'm wrong, but I could see 20,000 people easily showing up, maybe more. Who knows? To an Adam the Woo memorial. I mean, would you go if you could? I'm here in Florida, so I'm going to make every effort to go. And I would hate for it to be in a place and not be enough room to get in. Not just for me. I mean, I'd be upset if I couldn't get in, but also for all the other people that couldn't get in. So an outdoor facility is where I'd like to see it. The other thing I would like to see is for Universal Studios to lift their ban on Adam the Woo. They trespassed. He got a lifetime ban from Walt Disney World and Universal Studios Orlando. And he got the ban lifted from Disney World many years ago, about 10 years ago. But Universal still had their ban, and he could never go to Epic Universe. He hadn't been there in all these years. And I'd like to see Universal Studios lift their ban of Adam the Woo. I really would. But maybe they won't. And I imagine other people are going to call for that. That would be just a nice thought, something to do, Anyway, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. This is not the normal kind of thing I would talk about. And I'm talking about Adam now because, on the regular show, I just can't talk about it in all this detail that I'm doing now on the radio and everything. But it's just been on my mind all week. I don't know. I'm glad that German in Venice finally put a video up. I was just wondering, when the hell is German in Venice going to tell us what happened? And he goes through the whole thing. So when you're done watching me, look up the German in Venice and watch his video, and he goes through the whole story. And then I'll be back around 5:30 in the studio taking live calls. There's another thing I'm going to talk about on the morning show today too, is there's this thing, there's something being done that is just so disgusting to me. And I'm not sure if Greta Thunberg started this, but they're starting this thing that Jesus was a Palestinian. And they had this ad up in New York City, and it's all over social media. Come on. That's just it's so offensive, so disgusting, so over the line. But to people that are liberally impaired, they're going to grab onto that as a truth. And what's happening here is they're rewriting history, is what they're attempting to do with that. I saw this video on X this morning that was connected to this Jesus was a Palestinian absurdity. And remember in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Indy gets on the seaplane and he's flying across the world, and at the beginning of the movie, and they show the map, they show him flying over the Middle East, and that movie was, what year does Raiders of the Lost Ark take place in? 36, 38? It takes place right before the war started, and the war started in 39. So, I can't remember what year Indiana Jones is. 36, sometime between 36 and 38. And they show the map where the plane's flying, and they're like, oh, look, even Zionist Steven Spielberg recognized Palestine because he flies over the Middle East and it shows Palestine. Well, there was no Israel until 1948. It was called Palestine then. But it was filled with Jews, okay? A lot of Jews still live there because it was Israel to them. And it's shameful, ridiculous, disgusting, and highly offensive what they're doing. You know, and I just saw there's a lot of stories about people that have registered as foreign agents of Qatar. And there's a big move, there's a big Islamification move going on in this country right now. And I'm going to go through some of this. What's going on in Minnesota? Did you see the lieutenant governor of Minnesota put on a hijab? And I'm going to show the video in her. She put on a hijab with two Somalis and had a press conference, the lieutenant governor. And apparently she's the front runner in the U.S. Senate race in Minnesota right now, at least for the Democrats. They got a primary, they got to go through. I mean, what's going on here? What really is going on here? And this Mayor Wu of Boston is talking about the important role that I'm gonna play this clip from Mayor Wu's press conference in Boston on the morning show today about the Somali contributions to giving us Boston. This rewriting of history that's going on is, Boston is where the American Revolution began. The Sons of Liberty, right? Sam Adams, John Adams. This is where the Sons of Liberty began, and the activism of the American colonists that led to the American Revolution, the Boston Massacre. There were no Somalis there, and they have no role. And Boston is when you talk about American founding, the founding of the United States of America, Boston is more important than Philadelphia. I mean, I know Philadelphia is where the Continental Congress met in the Constitution, but Boston is where the Revolution really began. And the founding fathers of Boston, if it weren't for them and their bravery and their activism, from the massacre to the Tea Party, and many others, other than John Adams and Sam Adams, there were others. Yes, he was a real person. The greatest country that's ever existed on the planet Earth, the United States, would not be here. And for Mayor Wu to say that Boston, the Somali contributions that have given us Boston, what the freak is she talking? They're rewriting our history right before our eyes. President Trump coined the phrase fake news. We're getting fake history now. And I am not going to let that go by. Unaddressed. I'm going to, because, a lot of people that are liberal with this pathetic liberalization of our education system, they don't teach about American history anymore, and they haven't for years. Not real American history, right? Starbucks will be opening shortly, so hold on. I'm still a little under the weather, guys, so you got to bear with me. I turned the heat on and made it way too hot. It's 64 degrees, which is cold for us here in Florida. Welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And I'll be live in the studio taking calls on the next stream about 5:30. But I'm not going to let this stuff go unaddressed. I'm not going to let them rewrite American history or the story of Jesus. But, this is what conquerors do, okay? And this is an important thing, guys, to understand. What conquerors do when they conquer, the communists are huge history, huge, the Soviets, exploiters of this. But what conquerors do when they conquer a country, And we're being colonized and conquered right now. Hold on, let me pay attention here. I got to make a turn, and then I'll tell you what conquerors do. What smart let me rephrase it. What smart and successful conquerors do when they're conquering a country, dark MAGA mode engaged, guys, is they take the heroes and icons and the historical figures and events of a country and rewrite it to state that they were them. You know, like I read something about a year or so ago. They were talking about how the Queen of England, if you trace her line back, is related to the Prophet Muhammad. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. But that's a rewriting of English history. They're trying to incorporate the royal family, the Windsors, into that. And that's what's going on in this country with Michael Knowles did a very good piece on this. And he has when the first Somali was even in the country, you know, and there's the Somali population of this country has played no role in anything other than thievery in Minnesota with the Medicare Medicaid fraud that's going on and such. But they have no contribution in this country's story or building. It's nonsense, but they're rewriting it, and we can't let them rewrite our history. They're rewriting it as we're here in real time. And I, for one, am not going to let that go unaddressed. I don't know how back to normal the world is today. Today's a federal holiday, thanks to President Trump. So I got a lot to cover on the program today. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. When I'm in the studio, you'll see it's a little different than this. And I take live calls. You can call me live on the air. I'm on a whole bunch of FM radio stations hosting a morning show, and I live stream here on YouTube. And I take live calls from people that are watching on YouTube, listening on the radio, or other ways. I really hate that Starbucks lets homeless people camp out at their stores. I mean, we just had that homeless guy that stabbed a woman to death at Barnes & Noble's here in South Florida this week. Very bad. Very bad. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to take off, but I'll see you on the next stream. Now, so listen, a couple things. I'll be back at about 5:20, 5:30 in the studio taking live calls. But go and watch. Yeah, fear. A homeless guy just went into a Barnes & Noble and stabbed a woman to death right here in South Florida, okay, this week for no reason. So, yeah, fear of death. Yeah, absolutely. Fear of being stabbed to death by a homeless person is a realistic thing. It just happened this week. But when you're done watching me here, go and watch the German in Venice's video explaining what happened with his discovery of Adam the Woo, and call me on the next stream and let me know if you think that's weird that he called the police so quick. I think it's strange. All right, guys, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next stream. Take care.